Hi, I'm Bill Burns, one of the FSRs providing HVAC technical support here at Wolff Brothers Supply. Welcome to Truck Stock Tuesday, where we showcase some great items that will not only save you time and money, but make you a hero to your customers. It seems like since 2020, supply chains are still all messed up, and the HVAC industry is not immune to that. So finding the OEM part when you need it can be challenging. That's where the Azure motor comes in big time. The Azure motor is a universal ECM motor replacing constant torque and variable speed motors. We have two models. The 10856 is a quarter to half horsepower motor, and the 10857 is a half to 1 horsepower motor. They are easily changed from 115 volts to 120 or 230 volts, and rotation is reversible. Easy programming through the phone app, and it replaces 16-pin, 4-pin, and 5-tap motors, including the N-Site motor. As there are only a handful of motor manufacturers out there, I'm sure this motor will replace hundreds of motors on the market as well. But as Wolff Brothers Supply is an American Standard distributor, I'm only going to focus on American Standard equipment right now. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate the ease of wiring and programming this motor. The Azure motor should be thought of as a necessary tool for all service vehicles. Use it when waiting for an OEM warranty motor to come in, or leave it in place as a permanent replacement. The unbelievable price point on these motors makes it an easy way to get your valuable customers back up and running again. So here we have an S9 X2 model furnace, and we're replacing the 5-tap constant torque motor that was installed in it. Now I've already changed the motor out to the Azure motor, and if you look at the wiring from the motor, it has 3 plugs on it. You'll only use 2 at any given time. There's a 16-pin, a 5-pin, and a 4-pin. This adapter comes in the box. And if you see here, there's a 16-pin and a 5-pin adapter. And these 2 red wires here, this is how you change your voltage. If this connection is open, that's for 230 volts. But we need 115 volts, so we're going to close this connection. And now we've just changed our voltage, and we're going to plug in our 16-pin and our 5-pin. And now, does that look familiar? It's the exact connection that's on the motor. So it's going to match our furnace wiring harness exactly. So we're going to plug in the 4-tap to the 4-tap and the 5-tap to the 5-tap. Kind of hard to mess it up. And now we're ready to program. So before we program the Azure motor, we need to remember that the Azure motor only recognizes 5 taps. Some of our American Standard equipment allow you to set up to 9 taps. So when using the Azure motor, we need to reprogram the IFC to only 5 taps. And some of you will question this, thinking some of these tap selections may be too low for what you need. But don't worry, in the Azure app, we can program each motor tap to whatever speed you would like, including constant fan if needed. So as we set up our taps in the IFC, we're going to set up tap 1 for continuous fan. We're going to set up tap 2 for W1 or low heat. Tap 3 will be W2 or high heat. Tap 4 will be Y1 or low cooling. and tap 5 will be Y2 or high cooling. Okay, so now we're ready to program our motor. So we're going to download the Mars Azure Motor app on our tablet or phone. We're going to make sure the Bluetooth is activated on your device. Apply power to the equipment. Open the app. Select pair the motor and connect. Select the configuration. Set up the OEM manufacturer voltage, rotation, horsepower, and the OEM connection type. Then we're going to set the power percentage you want matching each tap selection you've previously programmed in the IFC. Ignore the app's thermostat designation listed on the left-hand side by the tap number. Now we're going to test the motor. Okay, so now we're going to test our motor by pressing the test button next to the tap.
Rotation is correct.
This is going to allow us to check our rotation and to make sure that we're changing through our speeds properly. After testing our speeds, we're going to save the configuration, verify and confirm the setup, and then we're going to turn off power to the equipment for 2 minutes. This will save the program to the motor. Then we turn it back on and reinstall the motor. After the motor is installed, you will back into the equipment. You will need to test each mode by the thermostat. Take temperature readings and adjust the motor speeds as needed. The Genteq N-Site motor is very common in the HVAC world. Ameristar and American Standard furnaces use them as well. But here's where it gets just a little strange. On Ameristar and American Standard furnaces, the taps will program backwards, and I will explain that more shortly. The N-Site motor is nothing more than a 5-tap constant torque motor, but as you can see, the connections are a little different. So you will need part number 08596, the N-Site motor adapter. And just remember that it programs as a 5-tap motor in the app. And to reverse your tap programming for American Standard. I have already installed the Azure motor into the housing here, and I've already installed the 5-tap constant torque motor adapter onto the wiring harness from the motor. So the next thing is we have the N-Site motor adapter here. And as you can see, these are just like on the motor, so it will match up with the factory wiring harness. And on the opposite end is just our 5-tap motor connections. So we are going to put the 5-tap motor connection into the 5-tap motor connection. So pretty simple. We've already set our voltage on our 5-tap motor harness. And now all we have left is to connect the N-Site motor adapter to the furnace wiring harness, like so. And the 6 plug there. And that is it for wiring. Now we're ready to program. So now that we have wired the Azure motor to replace the N-Site motor, and we have reconfigured our IFC on the furnace to reflect taps 1 through 5, we are going to enter the app and configure it for a 5-tap motor with one difference. The taps activate in reverse. So basically, when continuous fan tap 1 is energized from the furnace, it activates tap 5 on the Azure motor. As the furnace energizes tap 2, it activates tap 4. Tap 3 stays the same. Tap 4 will activate tap 2 on the Azure motor, and tap 5 will activate tap 1 on the Azure motor. So once we've set up our motor and we're setting our speeds, we have to set up our speeds to reflect that in reverse as well. So once that's done, and we've programmed them in reverse, then we're ready to save the configuration. Now this may or may not be an issue on other brands of equipment using the Genteq motor, but just be aware that it is possible. So then once we save the configuration, just like the other motor, we're going to confirm, and then we're going to save that, and then we're going to shut power off to the furnace for 2 minutes, and that will program the motor. Now we're going to look at the S9V furnaces with the 4-pin variable speed communicating motor. Here we have an OEM Panasonic 4-pin variable speed motor. We're going to disconnect this from the furnace harness. And as you can see from the plugs, we are connecting right up to the Azure motor with no motor adapter needed. And now we're ready to program. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is apply power to the equipment. We're going to log into the Azure app on your device and connect to the Azure motor. We're going to enter the OEM motor information, which in this case is a Panasonic 120 volt 4-pin motor. Enter the equipment manufacturer and speed percentage requested of the Azure motor. Now this speed percentage is the maximum that is allowed for that furnace blower to run. Then we're going to test the motor, then save the configuration. Then we will turn the power off for 2 minutes and the motor will be programmed. Now, depending on the equipment manufacturer and model, this 4-pin configuration may or may not run at a lower speed other than the maximum speed set in the program, which means you may only have one speed. This motor will communicate with the board or IFC, so you won't have lockouts due to no communication with the motor. But on the good side, your customer will have heating and cooling. This motor is also not recommended for use with variable speed heat pumps. And that concludes today's video. On behalf of Wolff Brothers Supply, I would like to thank you for watching, and as always, like and subscribe. Links to any products used are in the description below.